All rivers are on a quest. A constant mission to find the ocean. An endless cycle to move water across the vast blue planet. Along the way, they support countless lives. But their odyssey is by no means easy. From ice to heat, obstacles abound. Yet despite an ever-changing nature, a river always finds its way on the journey from source to sea. Morning dawns across an alpine world. This is the roof of southern Africa. Up here, shrouded in the mist, something very special is happening. Clouds laden with moisture arrive from afar to empty their precious loads among the crags. It's the first step in the perpetual cycling of water that nourishes the planet. Moisture evaporating off the Earth's surface travels as gas in the clouds, where it rises up before eventually falling back to Earth, often in the mountains. Indeed, mountains are where rivers are born. And at the top of the world, there's only one way to go. Down. Flowing east, down the mountainside, the young river has unwittingly set course for the Indian Ocean. On the other side of the escarpment, other streams flow west, choosing a vastly different path that will take them across southern Africa's arid interior. But this river has a more immediate challenge to face. At these heights, it's icy cold almost all the time. And no sooner has the water started moving than it's frozen solid. Trapped in the ice wall of the waterfall, the new river's journey draws to an abrupt halt, just yards from its source. Yet this morning, there is the promise of something that can unlock it from its icy shackles. It's the beginning of spring. For the first time in months, temperatures are rising, and the sun shines warm across the alpine world. Drop by drop, the water escapes from its frozen prison. Gravity, the driving force of all rivers on Earth, pulls the water down the side of the mountain. Gathering momentum, it babbles along, picking out the rocky path of least resistance. Under the heat of the sun, a river is born. Small and icy, the young river now descends through the mountains of its birth. It's still thousands of feet above sea level, and even the rays of springtime sun cannot thaw it completely. Only a hardy few can handle these frigid conditions. The first sign of animal life is a creature not typically known for its cold water endurance: a tadpole. These Maluti River frog tadpoles seem quite at home under the ice. The little amphibians appear to have a secret weapon to help them survive in the frigid waters: antifreeze. When ice crystals start forming on their skin, it triggers the production of glucose, which prevents the dehydration and shrinking of cells, keeping the little amphibians from freezing solid. The ability to produce their own versions of antifreeze is a talent shared by several amphibians living in icy realms. The tadpole's parents are close at hand. Maluti River frogs are also known as ice frogs. They inhabit limited ranges across the mountains. Living in the rivers up here is their unusual choice of food. Freshwater crabs. The crustaceans are equally at home above or below the ice and form a large part of the ice frog's diet. Freshwater crabs aren't known as great travelers, and this one will spend its whole life along this stretch of riverbank. Where he must sometimes sneak past sleeping frogs. Further downstream, other waterside residents are also coming out to enjoy the first signs of spring. The ice rat has no antifreeze, but it's got a few other tricks up its sleeve to help stay warm. The social rodents make their homes beneath the earth, in burrows of multiple interlinked chambers and entrances. In these underground hideouts, The rats keep cozy even when it's freezing outside. When the ice rats do venture outdoors to forage, they have a few ways to maintain their body temperatures. Thick fur helps a great deal, while small ears and tails limit heat loss. But according to scientists, their favorite way to stay snug is sunbathing. With a little bit of cuddling thrown in. But for that, you need to find someone who also fancies a snuggle. The ice rats are joined on the banks of the river by a pair of Drakensberg rock jumpers. They've been waiting all morning for the ground to thaw, so they can scratch around for some breakfast. Other avian locals soon join to feed. Up here, it's not just the early birds that get the worms. Overhead, a vulture soars. From a height, the twisting river glimmers like a serpent in the sun. Continuing its descent, it leaves the high peaks and enters freefall, becoming an unstoppable force. The water surges down the mountainside, moving faster than it ever will again. Waterfalls cascade into deep pools, hollowed out by eons of crashing flow. The young river is well on its way now, having left its icy origins for bubbling rapids. The serenity of the Cascades hides their true power. Water has the ability to slice through solid rock. Over many millions of years, the river has carved out a path through one of the hardest stones, granite. Massive boulders have scoured out cavernous holes. But how does water cut through stone? The answer lies both in the water's corrosive and abrasive qualities. The naturally acidic river water dissolves the minerals like quartz that bind the rock together. Then, small particles of sediment carried by the river continuously pummel the compromised rock, wearing it down. These microscopic stones chip away at the underlying rock as they move, eventually cutting deep grooves. In this way, rivers excavate valleys, changing the very landscape through which they flow. The young river pushes east, forging its way through the rocky terrain at the base of the mountains towards its ultimate goal, the sea. But the journey from source to sea is not an easy one. The river is about to face its biggest challenge yet. Now, as it enters the flatter lands at the base of the peaks, it slows to a crawl. It's hotter too. It's the peak of the dry season. Rain is like a distant memory. This thirsty land has sucked the river almost dry. Here, the wilderness is home to many animals, all of which rely on the river for survival. Few are better known for their giant thirsts than elephants. Elephants are considered a water-dependent species and need to drink every day, especially when it's hot. An adult can consume upwards of 50 gallons a day, making the demands of a thirsty herd on the meager river significant. It's not only the elephants that need the river's moisture. Camel thorn trees on its banks use long roots to draw water from the sandy soil. These trees, in turn, elicit their own visitors. Like this troop of vervet monkeys, one of southern Africa's most abundant primates. They're here for the nutrient-rich seed pods. Although the trees are epitomized by their sharp thorns, the monkeys seem totally unconcerned, feeding happily among the spiny barbs. The tree's seed pods provide a valuable source of protein and other nutrients for the omnivorous vervets, which have a wide and varied diet. Like the elephants, the monkeys also need to drink daily, making this riverside real estate excellent primate property. One upside to the dry season is that the exposed sandy beaches provide easy access to the water. For this southern white rhino mother and calf, a visit to the river is also an important part of their daily routine. While the calf is only a few weeks old and still nursing, mom needs to drink in order to meet the demands of producing gallons of rich milk. Each new generation of white rhinos is invaluable, for it helps secure a future for the highly endangered species. After After facing near extinction in the 1960s, population numbers are still very low. And every healthy rhino baby, like this one, is a small conservation victory. The little calf is still very reliant on her mother for protection and support. Mom is in turn an attentive and capable parent. Few predators would dare challenge her. 3,700 pounds of muscle and thick hide behind a smooth-tipped horn are intimidating to even the biggest lions. But there are some things in a young rhino's life even her mother can't help with. Like ticks. She's covered in them. Luckily for the calf, in nature, if there's a job to be done, there's generally someone to do it. Oxpeckers have identified tick cleaning as a niche market. The little bird gets to work on the infestation. It's a win-win situation for bird and beast. Treatment complete, the industrious birds move on to Mom. Further downstream, a group of vultures has come to the water for a seemingly unlikely reason. While the birds have a reputation for being dirty scavengers, these white-backed vultures are here for a bath. Like all birds, they need to keep their feathers free of excess oil and dirt, so they line up for a wash. Next, they assume open-winged poses to dry off in the sun. It's a routine cleaning that ensures they're in tip-top shape when it comes time to take to the skies. From above, the vultures look for carcasses to feed on, for they don't hunt themselves. But they're out of luck this morning. The only predators around are more interested in a nap than a kill. African wild dogs may be some of the most successful predators on the continent, but right now, it's too hot for them to hunt. Like wolves, they're extremely social animals, living in groups governed by an alpha male and female. The dogs once ranged widely across sub-Saharan Africa, from mountainous areas to desert. Nowadays, they are considered endangered, with only an estimated 39 subpopulations left within Africa. Around a bend of the desiccated river, another threatened species makes its way. The African elephant is also facing critical population losses. Like the wild dogs, elephants need vast amounts of space to roam and feed in. Theirs is a restless and nomadic life, always on the move in search of food, water, and mates. And the river is an important part of their journey. They use its winding path like a road, mapping out the easiest migration routes between feeding grounds. Staying close to the river ensures they have access to water, which they need for more than just drinking. The huge mammals keep cool by taking regular mud baths along the way. Mud bathing is common practice for elephants, keeping their surprisingly sensitive skin protected from both the sun and parasites. Down the way, where the waning river is little more than a dirt pit, there's another mighty herbivore with an affinity for mud. This buffalo bull is a senior citizen, retired from a position at the head of the herd, now relegated to a life of solitude on the riverbanks. But he's not alone today. He's being watched by a pair of Africa's most powerful predators. A young male lion and his brother. They might not have full manes yet, but they've got the power to pull down the 1,900-pound bull. The ambush hunters hunker down. They need him to get close enough for them to pounce. He can't see them, but he can smell a trap. This old bull has lived through many a lion hunt. Experience tells him to beat a hasty retreat. The Savannah Kings will have to look elsewhere for their dinner. In the graying evening sky, a rumble of thunder signals an end to the dry season. After months of thirst, the rain soaks the land, bringing respite and rejuvenation. Dawn breaks to reveal a fresh and renewed world. Further downstream, the effects of the rain are visible as swollen tributaries feed the river, which grows deeper and wider than ever before. Flowing along in this fashion, it leaves the wide-open plains and rocky hills of the bushveld and enters the tropical coastal zone. Closer to the Indian Ocean, both the river and the surroundings change once more. The river relaxes into a languid stillness, widening across its floodplain and depositing rich sediment that fuels abundant growth around and within. Water birds make a good living fishing in the rich waters. The regal heron uses a long beak to spear unsuspecting fish. While the kingfisher dive bombs his quarry. There's another bird here that prefers the wetlands' side salads to fishy mains. The palm nut vulture is not what you'd expect from a bird of prey. While the smell of rotting meat would excite its cousins, this vulture prefers the vegetarian menu. It lives mostly off the fruits of the palm nut tree. There are others around who also favor the easy pickings of the palm nut's bounty. Samango monkeys share the big bird's enthusiasm for palm nuts. Also called blue monkeys, they are rare in southern Africa, only living in coastal forests like this one. These samangos have made excellent waterside homes here, with quirky neighbors and plenty of food. On the calm surface of the river, beauty blossoms. Water lilies are well suited to a life aquatic. Their wide, round leaves float on the surface, while long, hollow stems reach down to the river floor. It's the lily's flowers that are the most alluring. Their perfume and bright colors are simply irresistible to many insects. But the lilies serve other river locals beside the bees. They provide the perfect hunting platform for one very unusual creature. These long legs and spindly claws belong to the African jacana. This striking bird has evolved long, thin feet, which enable it to distribute its weight evenly over the lily pads, so it doesn't sink while searching for insects among the leaves. These three are a family unit, but not the kind you'd necessarily expect. This bird is a single dad. Jacanas are unlike most birds, insofar as it is the male who cares exclusively for the chicks. The chick's mother may have mated with multiple males, leaving each one with a clutch of eggs to raise on their own. This unorthodox system of breeding evolved to compensate for an extraordinarily high rate of egg loss to predators. The world of the jacana has, in effect, turned the female into an egg-making machine, leaving the fathers to incubate and care for the eggs. This dad has done his duty well. He's got not one, but two healthy fledglings that are learning how to navigate a life of walking on water. The main thing they need to figure out is how to catch food without sinking. So far, so good. As the river moves closer to the Indian Ocean, strange shapes appear within. Indeed, it's not only wildlife that uses these waterways. Fish traps provide for subsistence fishermen who have long lived off the coastal estuaries. This ancient method has been passed down through generations. It's carefully designed to guide the fish through a passage and into the heart-shaped trap. The structures are built so that only big fish get trapped, while small fish can move in and out. This form of fishing remains sustainable, striking a balance between the needs of the people that live here and the conservation of those species that use these waters to breed. During the summer months, the river is full of fish, with species like bream, grunter, and mullet finding their way into the traps. But now, at the start of spring, large fish have yet to arrive. Like all fishing endeavors, there's no guarantee of success. Sometimes fishermen must contend with more than bad luck. Other riverside locals sabotage their traps. The calm, shallow water is perfect for hippos. These amphibious mammals are incredibly strong and have been known to trash the fish traps on a whim. Below the surface, the fish benefit. This trap can hold them no more. At last, the ocean is within reach. Yet here, the river goes through one of its most extreme changes. This close to the ocean, the very makeup of the water is changing. Mixing with the salty sea, it has become, for the first time, saline. While the brackish water would be too extreme for most plants to survive in, one very unusual tree still thrives here. Mangrove trees are uniquely designed to survive in salty water, with roots that penetrate the mud at low tide, acting as snorkels during high tide. They also employ a complex filtration system to keep out most of the salt. Their success in this difficult habitat in turn supports others that call this coastal zone home. Crabs feed on fallen debris from the trees, scurrying to the safety of their holes when threatened. Their constant gardening recycles nutrients back into the earth, fueling the growth of more mangroves. At high tide, the trees also provide a shelter for numerous juvenile fish. These crowd around fallen branches, keeping out of sight and out of danger. One day, they'll be big enough to follow the river on the final leg of its journey, out into the ocean. Once past the mangroves, the river finally meets the sea. At the mouth, it spills into the warm Indian Ocean, bringing with it nutrients to feed those living on the inshore reef systems. Here, finally, the river ceases to be separate from the ocean. Beyond the waves, life flourishes along vivid coral havens. It's an excellent example of a healthy estuary feeding into a vibrant ocean where marine life can live and breed in abundance. This river's journey has taken it past a myriad of landscapes and characters. The water it carried has floated high over the mountains, quenched giant thirsts, and cut through rock. Now it has come to rest in the mighty Indian Ocean. But its quest will not stop there. One day, in a place far away, the same water will embark on another epic journey, from source to sea.